the UN, obviously, we had this ridiculous UNESCO resolution denying the Jewish claim to the Temple Mount. Your thoughts on that? I know you're not too fond of it, to say the least. But on the positive end, Israel forging these new relationships around the world in Africa and strengthening, I would say, existing relationships, India, Latin America. Talk about, okay, the UN still nuttiness there, but good things happening too.
There are delegations every week coming from Africa, coming from Asia, coming from other parts of the world to Israel. Mm-hmm. And many Arab countries are knocking on Israel's door. They do it at night, yeah. but they're there. And they are more and more open about it, that if our minister of Egypt goes to Israel, that a general from Saudi Arabia, and whether it was government representative or not, the very fact that it was a public presence, so that debunks the argument of Israel's isolation.
Yes.
Israel faces real problems. And you see it in the UN, where you have this blatant bias. You have 6 resolutions in one day. The most ludicrous is 140 countries voted that Israel should give the Golan back to Syria. We don't have enough people suffering under Assad's thumb. They want to turn back all these thousands of Druze and others, that they should give this more land back to this maniac and to the civil war and the horrible situation that's going on there.
And to Iran and Hezbollah.
And think about how ludicrous that kind of a resolution is, and yet France, Britain, Germany voted for it. Then there were resolutions that grow out of the UNESCO action, which, as you know, I've been speaking about for years and warning about. People don't take it seriously. They still don't take it seriously, but our grandchildren will pay the price for it.
Right.
I told one Christian foreign minister, I said, let me ask you something privately after the meeting. And he said, yes. And I said, what are you going to tell your grandchildren when they ask you, how did you give away our history, our heritage, our tradition, that I can't visit the Christian holy sites, that we've seen 3,800 years of Jewish history and 2,000 years of Christian history wiped out? And he said to me, well, we're against changing the status quo. I said, you did more by signing on to that resolution than Israel did in 60 years to change the status quo. You changed thousands of years of history with this. And your grandchildren will pay the price, because they won't be allowed to go there. They'll say, look, UN resolutions already now have eliminated the traditional Judeo-Christian names, the Temple Mount, the Western Wall, the tomb of Rachel, the tomb of the patriarchs. Now they only use the Muslim names. This is an attempt to take away our past in order to take away our future.
Tell us a little bit about your work as we wrap up here, Malcolm, at the Conference of Presidents, what you do on a regular basis, and talk also about why it's so important, the Christian relationship now to Israel, the work CUFI is doing. Talk about why that means so much to Israel and the Jewish people in these times, these upside down times we're living in.
I want to talk about that first because I, as you know, love CUFI and Pastor Hagee and Diane. I've worked with them for many years. I think their work is more and more important than ever, and especially given our times and all of those who are trying to undermine the relationship, makes it all the more important that we strengthen the relationship, that they stand up, and all we ask is one thing, the truth. The truth. And that's what CUFI and we have been working so hard to get out. We're not asking people to whitewash anything, just tell the truth. And that's Israel's strongest weapon, that's our strongest weapon. And the people of CUFI, who are really the salt of the earth, they're the best people, and every time I go, even if I wasn't invited to the conference, I say I would go because I recharge my batteries by their energy. You can light all of Washington with the energy that is generated at that meeting. And the conference, which is an umbrella of 53 organizations, works every day to build bridges to address national and international issues. We don't really deal with the domestic agenda, but we work at the UN, we fight terrorism, Iran, we deal with the image of Israel, the propaganda, the negative stereotyping, et cetera, and very big concern about American campuses, which are more and more mirroring what we've seen in European campus.
For another interview.
Yes, it's not BDS, it's anti-Semitism.
Yes, it is. Destruction of Israel by other means.
That's right. And it's just a cover to say, well, it's only BDS. It's like the Nazis said, well, it was Kristallnacht. They broke the windows. They didn't talk about the thousands, tens of thousands who were arrested and killed in the businesses, because you try always to cover it. So BDS says, well, it's an economic boycott. No, it isn't. It's anti-Semitism, and it's an attempt to destroy the Jewish state.
Malcolm, thank you so much. We'll see you again soon at a CUFI event someplace in the country.
God willing.
Thanks, Malcolm.
Pleasure.
Take care. Thanks to our good friend Malcolm Hoenlein for sharing his wisdom and insights. Well, coming up after the break, we head to Jerusalem to visit the tomb of another very wise man, the prophet Samuel, and we get an incredible view of the eternal city of Jerusalem. You won't want to miss this. That's coming up after the break. Stick around.